Welcome to the Shirl and Shirley Show. Today, I am so honored to have my friend John Righeimer, who is also chairman of Sawyer County Republican Party. And him and I are just going to talk a little bit politics. We haven't done it for a long time, and it's time for us to catch up. He knows what I've been doing the last few months. I actually helped work on the campaign trail. I was a Trump Force 47 captain for field organizer for RPW, which I would have never thought in a million years I would do, but I did. And it was quite the experience, a lot of fun. And I knocked on about probably 14,000 doors myself, John. Wore out a pair of tennis shoes. And I also hit the college, UW Stevens Point, big time. And it was much an eye-opening experience to go into the belly of the beast more often than what we think we do. And it really paid off. Was happy to see we got very close, 48.6% in Portage County, which is almost unheard of. Pat Teston won his seat, Senate, about 54%. With that, I'm going to let John we're going to get started, and we're just going to talk about whatever we want to talk about, because that's how we do this. That's how we roll.
It's how we roll. It's how we roll, as the kids say, right? Well, I
Yeah.
just want to say, as I said earlier in the green room, right? Congrats on all the hard work that you put towards it. I could just see it from afar, and you put in a lot more work than 100 times more than I did. But that is a credit to you. And I think, hitting doors is the way to go. It's so hard to do, right? I mean, I've almost given up on that here in Sawyer County as far as getting people to walk doors. But and that's not a knock on the people, because part of it's just the geography. I mean, it's not easy to hit doors up. But even if that aside, it's just tough to get people to do it. So that challenge then becomes, from a grassroots effort, okay, if you can't or won't do that, what are you going to spend your time on? And that's what we continually wrestle with in our little county. And I guess my moniker is stay local, because that's where we can have the impact. We got the Supreme Court race coming up in April. That would be, in my eyes, more important than presidential race. But I got to be careful saying that, because then people take that the wrong way when I say stuff like that. So,
well, yeah, but people that are involved in it understand it 100%, because if we would have won that last year in spring, we wouldn't have had some of the issues that we had fighting into this year. Very interesting. Yeah.
Agreed.
And as far as doors, I mean, what I would say is doors are great if you know how to do them. That's the problem, is a lot of times people, they get very uncomfortable. They're not very good at facing when you're talking to somebody at a door. I mean, I was in the belly of the beast for sure in Portage County. I mean, it is a blue area. People were very respectful. I did get thrown off a couple people's property. Get your fat ass off my land.
You're not doing your job if that doesn't happen every now.
Oh, it did. The guy yelling, and this poor girl with me, she was young, and I was training her, and she's, he's yelling, get your fat ass off my property. And I'm just like shaking my head, Trump derangement syndrome. This poor girl, she's like, we better hurry. I'm not hurrying. I'm just going to walk off just like I would anywhere else. Why he's mad at me, I don't know. He's yelling. And she's like, but he's yelling at us. It's okay. You're going to be fine. Trust me. It's all right. We're going to be off his property in a few minutes. It was kind of funny, but also a little bit startling. And then, to have people say to you, well, I can't believe a woman's knocking on my door. It's going to vote for that man. Well, I am a woman, and I'm really grateful that you noticed that, because a lot of people on your side can't. And then I would just say, thank you for your time, and walk away. And they were shocked, because you got to make humor out of some of it. And that's what I tried to do, is make it fun. I really did. I mean, there were days it was hot, and I thought, what the heck am I doing? This old lady out here knocking on doors. And some days people made me laugh a lot. Other days I could see that I swayed people over that were maybe not, undecided. Well, what are your issues? And talked about the issues of the economy. I'm 65 years old. I'm out here knocking on doors. I'm doing it because I'm concerned, and I'm concerned about war, and I'm concerned about what's going on in the world. And I'm just concerned about prices. I mean, I was blown away at prices. There were things that we talked about. Then they were like, oh, wow, you've got me thinking really hard on that. Who's going to be stronger for us? Is Kamala Harris going to be stronger, or is Donald Trump going to be stronger? And I just felt strong, peace through strength, which is what Reagan did. And actually, Trump did have peace when he was in last time. He's already proven that to us. That's kind of what I brought up. And it was very interesting. I learned a lot. And I also learned that some people you just can't talk to. You just have to say, hey, look, I'm going to have to agree to disagree, and I'm going to just move on. But you're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change yours. And it's okay. That's why we have two candidates, right? When somebody puts their name on a ballot, there's a winner and there's a loser. And that's how it's always been.
In a close election, especially in Wisconsin or anywhere, or even like in people like in Minnesota, people, I can't believe they're a Republican. I'm like, well, it's still 40-something% of the people that are Republican. I mean, it's not like politic differentials are tighter, but you know what I mean? Like a 4-point win. Wow, he blew them out. We have 4%. But no, I think that's great that you did all that. And I hope what we can do going forward is take what did we all learn
Mm.
as Wisconsin Republicans in winning, with Trump winning, and what part of that can be, some of that can't be applied, what part of it can be applied. I told our county party, there's a good chance, I'm concerned about April. It's no shoo-in that we win that. So let me paint the scenario. There's a scenario that we lose in April. There's a scenario that we lose the Senate by 26, that we're the minority in the Senate in 26. There's no given that we can win until we prove otherwise. There's no given we can win a governor's race. And what I lead that all to this is that I think the assembly is our firewall from turning into, it doesn't mean we throw into all those other races. Doesn't mean I'm thinking we're going to lose or want to lose. I think we have to play out that scenario. But when I look at the game board, the assembly is our strength. That is where we can really protect. So that's what we're trying to do is, state Senate might even be too high up for us to get involved in. I mean, don't say that to Romaine Quinn, whoever's going to run for state Senate. That assembly on down is really where we can have that impact. For every dollar we donate, it really matters. For every parade we show up, it really matters. For every sign we put up, it really matters. Statewide stuff, harder for us to be impactful up here. And there's only so much you can do. Speaking of the assembly, I get concerned when I see that there's still a contingency out there that'll take pot shots at the assembly. And that's not a shoo-in either, but it's probably likely that we hold on to the majority there for some time, right?
Well, I hope so. That, map jury rigging was one of the things that I was very concerned about. For the governor to be able to do that, the assembly really didn't have a choice. They had to choose that map. So they had to choose that map. And if they wouldn't have chosen that map, we would have been screwed. Then the Supreme Court would have chosen a map. And, they hired these people to come in. And it was totally wrong. We held on. That's good. We lost a few seats. I'm very sad about Joan Balwig. She was a good, strong leader. She really lost her Senate seat because of the gerrymandering, because she's a good person and she's fought for a long time. I mean,
we lost, and that was lost because of the Kelly race. We lost that, and so thus the maps were a product of that. I was talking to some Republican friends of mine just recently, and we were saying, we're probably statewide a light blue state.
Yeah,
I mean, we are. Doesn't mean I like it, but let's face the facts. Let's live in reality. So with that said, well, the Hovde loss has a couple things in it. It's what we talked about. You had some of the purists that were staying away for weird, I wouldn't even call them purists. They're Trump only voters. So they'll vote for Trump, but they're not going to vote for anybody else because they really don't like the Republican Party. They're not Republicans. So unless it's Trump, like somebody said to me, how do you think Brad Schimmel could win in April? I said, what would be the best is if Trump came out like a month before the election and told his followers, you must go out and vote for this guy. Barring that, Brad starts out as it's an off-year election. He starts out as a deficit. Now, I'm not saying he's going to lose. It's just tough. The point I'm getting at is we're probably light blue. And so we just have to, that gets me back to that assembly. The assembly is an advantage for us because we're not burdened because it's a collection of how many rural areas, right? It's not Dane and Milwaukee have less of an impact on how the assembly goes than anything else we do. So that's something we got to protect at all costs. And then hopefully at some point either figure out how to persuade the Trump only voter to come on board for, in this case, Schimmel, or in 26, the governorship, either persuade them to do so or figure out a way to bridge that or find out how to replace them. Because as we sit here today, those folks aren't going to, Hovde's an example. They showed that they're not going to do it. I don't know if they think the same thing about Brad as they thought about Hovde, but I think it's just, I'm not even sure some people disliked Hovde. They just didn't know who he was, but they know who Trump is, and the Republicans have a bad brand. Now, here's an anecdotal one, and it happened I heard it happen at the state fair as well. At the state fair, a lot of people wanted Trump signs, and they kept running out of them, but they had a hard time giving, in other words, for every Trump sign they gave out, they couldn't necessarily always give out a Hovde sign. People didn't want it. I saw the same thing here in Sawyer County. I had people that I don't even know who they are showing up to a meeting because that's how we were handing out signs. Hey, do you want to stay for the meeting? No, I just want my sign. Oh, okay. Come in. Here's the Trump signs. We're, suggesting $5 donation for the Trump signs. Great. I'll take 5 of them. Okay, wonderful. How about this Hovde sign? No, I don't want the Hovde sign. It's free. Just take it with the Trump. No. I don't want the Hovde sign. I just want a Trump sign. Please give me my signs and let me get out of here. Now, I know that's anecdotal, but I think there's something there, right?
We started at our county party giving away the Hovde and Van Orden. If they came in for Trump, you got to take one of these, at least one each. That's what we kind of did. And they were pretty good about it. And actually, we got a lot of signs out, Hovde and Van Orden, concerned even about Van Orden because this person run against it and all the money that's the problem. They
Yeah.
throw so much money
Yeah.
into our state more than what we can do. We just can't. When you look at like up where you are, it's so spread out. And that's probably the biggest problem in that area. I mean, I'm spread out too, but I live in a city outside the city, thank goodness.
Well, you look like a metropolis compared to us, right? So
Yes,
it's
exactly. Yeah, and we have
it's further
18,000.
spread out the farther north you go, right?
Yeah, and it totally is. And honestly, when you think about it, and now what's happened is after what happened in Minneapolis and all destroyed, a lot of those people have bought homes and moved into that area.
Yeah.
So I bet you anything within so many years, you're going to see percentages go of what turns blue because they bring their politics with them, which makes absolutely no sense at all to me.
Ours is already, if you look at Sawyer County in the
Mhm.
Northwest, it's pink. Surrounded,
Interesting.
Douglas is blue, Ashland is blue, we're
Yeah.
pink, Washburn, Price, Rusk are deep red. Well, mostly the Minneapolis people are moving to Sawyer, Hayward.
Of course.
And so that's what's tightening. If I always tell our county party, I said, jokingly mocked, like, "Oh, look at Sawyer, you're pink." I'm like, we're doing pretty well considering,
Mhm.
we're growing as a community, and the majority of those people are coming from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're bringing their politics. They're bringing their politics with them.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So where was I going with that? Well, we just got to figure out a way to replace. I don't know what the answer is to to,
Well,
to bring in the Trump only voter, because it's almost
it's a
I don't want to say
phenomena. It's a phenomena. It really
it's
is because
phenomena. I don't want. That's a good way to say
yeah,
phenomena, because I don't want to call it a cult, but
no,
it's because it's not. But it's something. It'll never be duplicated again.
I don't think
Because
so
when
either.
when when Don Senior goes, I don't care who tries to pick up that mantle. It's not going to be the same. It's just not.
No, the
And
rallies
so,
won't be the same. I mean,
right.
you see people doing the Trump dance, I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing to me to witness what we witnessed. Truthfully, it was a huge historical comeback. I got to give him that 100%. It was focused this time. I mean, I think maybe getting shot did do something, which I think is horrible. I was horrified by that. Horrified. I'm still horrified by the fact that the man took a bullet very, very, very close to having his head blown off on TV live. That would have been something that I don't know if our country would have healed from that because of this group of people that are kind of like this phenomena. And I think it's people really, John, that have been disenfranchised and have not really been involved. I mean, you know this, I know this. I've been involved in the Republican Party for multi-years. And I don't like saying that because it doesn't sound like, I mean, I don't want to be bragging. I'm not bragging at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I've been a conservative Republican my whole entire life. I've never changed. And so then all of a sudden I'm meeting these people that have never been involved. They don't even know what a caucus is. They don't understand that getting involved in their local party is really important. Also to like follow the rules. There's policies and procedures and we have those in place for reasons. There are rules. And these people did not want to follow rules and they did not want to follow policy and procedure, which we had that happen here in Wood County. And I'm sure you heard about that where, somebody in April and they just quit and walk away. And then they send out an email saying, no more events, no more meetings, nothing. And it's like, how can you possibly do that as the person who's the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary? You just boom. Everybody out here was like, what's going on? So then I contact RPW. You guys got to step in here and do something, as it was kind of like the same thing that happened up north to some degree, a little bit different, that whole little group. But I guarantee you they went out and voted for Trump, but I'm guaranteeing you they didn't go out and vote for Hovde. And I don't know if they understand, because they don't understand policy and procedure. So they don't understand the procedure of the fact that if we lose Supreme Court, that's where all of our problems come in our state. If you can't understand it and you try to explain that to them and they just get mad at you saying, you're one of them. You're a Robin Vos lover. You're a Robin Vos lover. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's
well, that's challenge. That's kind of the conundrum of the Trump appeal. Part of it is, I mean, even Trump himself, I would think he probably hurts his brand, right? It extends the olive branch out to what they appear to say that are the rhinos. That's bad for his brand. So like to a certain degree, they got to keep that anger digged up. But I agree, the challenge I see is like, it's no secret I don't like Trump. I voted for Trump every time, other than the primary. I've voted for Trump every time he was the general. Right.
Same
So
here.
I'm not sure why people are upset at me, because I don't like the guy, but it's a binary choice. And damn it, I'm a Republican. So he's on the Republican ticket. I'm going to pull that lever.
Same
I
thing I
wish
did
that contingency would have that same feeling. And it's just understanding that we want to be a wide tent. That doesn't mean a wide tent means you're never going to have everybody on the same page. There's no right or wrong here. I am the minority in a wing of the Republican Party in Wisconsin. I'm not even sure what I would call us, but I'm a minority in it, right?
Well, so am I in that minority, John? I think I am.
I don't want to drag anybody down the sewer with me.
all right.
Off air, we'll talk about who I think's at that table. So we just sit and we bide our time and we try to do what we think is best. I guess my point is every party has its little contingencies in it, and rarely will one have the upper hand from time to time. Yes. Will it ever dominate? I don't think so. And they're probably thinking that rhinos like me are dominating. I wish I was powerful as they thought I was, for one.
Well, I just want to say one thing though before you go on. I want to
Yeah,
clarify this. You just called yourself a rhino. You are not a rhino. I know. I mean, obviously they call me a rhino too, or a
right,
Democrat plant. I think is what I've been referred to as. We both understand exactly what that means. It means we are conservative Republicans. We are
right.
the Republican brand, and I don't think they grasp that, and they never will. And so they're never going to be able to understand it or comprehend it on our level. They're not. We have to learn to live with that, even though it's very difficult. It's really hard to get it across to people. You know, I've always been able to, John, maybe you and I might not agree on everything, right? So I've always been able to say, I don't really agree with that. And you and I are still going to be friends and we're still going to move on. We aren't going
Correct.
to go blah, 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 blah. And that's what I don't get is that you can't agree to disagree anything with them. You have to
Well, if
either
you're
be what they are or they're done with you. They're done. You're a
Well, and
rhino and
it's
that's
kind
it.
of, yes, and it's kind of a naive point of view because it's like if you are a Trump zealot, you should want to vote for Eric Hupty because having
Absolutely.
more Republican senators would help Trump, certainly more so than having a Democrat hold that seat. If you're not going to do it for Hupty, if you're not going to do it for Republicans, do it, do it for Trump. But there's a naivety about it. We had a situation here in Sawyer County. We had an unnecessary primary against our assembly rep. We gave money to our current assembly rep, incumbent. We endorsed them, so that iced out the competitor. Well, that upset a lot of that contingency in our county. One of the people from that contingency came to an outing we had, a function we had to get her Trump sign. I said something like, oh, somebody was asking me how our assembly rep's race was going. I said, no, he'll be fine. I said, he'll win. This is the general. And the person goes, well, do you think that the group that opposed him in the primary, are they going to come out and vote for him? I go, I think some of them will. I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. So anyways, this woman jumped in and said, she's got her Trump sign. She says, I want to know why you and RPW, which really meant RAC, they don't understand the difference, gave money to these incumbents, chose them over the other candidates. All that money should be spread around. And I said, well, he's the incumbent. He's done a fine job. He overtook a seat that was held by Democrats for 36 years. There should not be a primary for him. Barring like criminal or something really crazy, why would we waste our resources? But they don't see it that way. It's like a child saying, well, hey, I want to run for X. I declare myself a Republican. So now some magical Republican money is going to come to me, which I'm leading to is that now I'm taking this a step further was the Regini Eric Hovde thing. I mean, like, come on. The main attraction Eric Hovde had is because RPW has no money. He can help self-fund and he can put up a fight, at least on the surface, because he can self-fund it. I like Eric Hovde. He was a good guy. I think he would have made a great senator. So I'm not saying these people actually thought Regini was like a real candidate. And I'm not even knocking Regini. I mean, I'm just saying, come on.
I know.
It's stuff like that. It's just not understanding that and then getting mad at people like me that are like, why are you supporting Chans? Or like, I know there was another county that people got mad that they wouldn't let Regini march with them because, well, Eric Hovde is the endorsed candidate. So that's just our
Right.
rules.
Well,
So it's like,
that's the thing. That's what I'm saying, though. They don't understand the rules and procedure and policy. Even at the state convention, we endorsed him, came out of it as the endorsement. A rules committee, everything, the endorsement. We endorsed Eric Hovde. And, we've made mistakes not endorsing people correctly at other conventions, and we paid that price. He came out of it with the endorsement. Her group was very angry, going to stand up and going to yell and holler. She was going to holler on the mic. They cut the mic off and said, this is done. Boom, you're done. That's it. The rules, and that's how they need to deal with things like that. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
And that's what you and I are asking them to do. And I appreciated the fact that they did it. Now, I went to an event that,
Oh, that's her background. That's her backyard.
well, she is the
Regini's backyard.
yes, she is the college Republican chair right now, and she was the one that was introducing Eric Hovde. It was extremely, it was very uncomfortable. There were about 70, 80 people in the room. And, Tom Cotton, Senator Cotton was there. That's why I wanted to go.
Well, I know what you're saying. And I think, the challenge is that contingency is not strong enough to win anything for the most part. They did get their clocks cleaned in most of those assembly primaries, if not all of them, maybe exception of one, which there's even, I put an asterisk by that one as well. But so they get their clocks cleaned and can't win anything, but they can certainly, hypothetically, ruin a statewide race.
They stir up a bee's nest. They stir up a bee's
Yeah.
nest. It's not necessary. And they do attack Robin Voss. Do they
Oh,
not
speaking of
understand?
which, yeah, oh yeah, and I'm a big defender of Us, as you know. I sadly he can't come to our Lincoln Day, so
Oh
I
no.
texted him and I said, "Hey, Robin, we'd love to have you as our keynote speaker of our Lincoln Day dinner." Because I told him, and this is serious, I said I want to highlight how great our Republican Assembly is and really celebrate our majority because that's, as I've
Hmm.
said here earlier, that's the firewall that we have.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, he was because he's the chair of
Yeah.
National
Yeah.
Assembly Speakers or something. He had a function, so he can't." I said, "Yeah, I understand, and maybe I can get Tyler August to come." I said, "Because I'm itching to get the giant cardboard check out and donate donate money to protect that assembly. It's
Yeah.
that's really where the important thing is. Give you what I do know, and it was in the Milwaukee Journal a couple of days ago. Tim Michaels donated roughly about $500,000
I
to
saw that.
Trump. I don't think he donated anything to Hovde. Certainly nothing to RPW. Tim Michaels can do what he wants with his money. This is where I'm not good for this, whatever you want to call this arena, because I don't forget things. I'm like, okay, so this is the guy that came in at the 10th hour. We were told by Senator Ron Johnson to go no endorsement to allow Tim Michaels to come in. Who do we know if he was ever really part of the Republican Party in Wisconsin? Probably not.
I never
And
heard of
after
him.
the fact, he gets his clock cleaned. We screw things up. He gets the clock cleaned, and it looks like he did nothing to help his home state win a senatorial race. I mean, it's like when you got friends like that, I'm not
Yeah.
sure a lot of
Yeah.
challenges out there that, and again, I don't know. At the end of the day, whatever. I guess, if you were to write a check to Sawyer County Republican Party for 10 grand, I'd say Tim Michaels is the greatest guy in the world. So uh,
I love that.
I'm
That's
just
great.
as bad as the rest of them, I guess.
No, I don't think so. I think you know what it is that you have a passion, you have an opinion, and I think it's okay to share that. And that's why I like talking to you because I think it's kind of fun that we can laugh about it for sure, and we both understand. And what's really weird about it is that I served as chair up there a
Yeah.
long time ago, and it's crazy that you are right there, and it's just so crazy. So it brings back a lot of those kind of memories too, because I was always battling against some people that have strong names up there, and you know who they are.
Well, I know, and I don't know if I have those same battles, but I have different battles, and I came close to now, assuming they'll elect me again. I think so. It was only last week that I decided I was going to run again. I was thinking maybe how do I get out of this? Because it just seems like an uphill battle, and it's not the 15 or 20 that come to every meeting. Those are the great ones, right?
Right,
It's just the
absolutely.
stuff that comes up from time to time. I actually got a week before the presidential race from, like, I always say to, like, people that are from here. I'm like, oh, the typical Sawyer County royalty that seems to know everything and second guess everything I do from time to time, but they never come to a meeting. Anyways, the
Mhm.
text asked was, does the Sawyer County GOP endorse or support Donald Trump for president? This was like 5 days before the election. I said, is this a real question? Well, they came back. I don't know. I mean, because I don't see us really doing the job out there. I'm like, who's we? You're never at a meeting. The people you're talking to are probably never at a meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
So I thought, I don't know, is this worth doing anymore? Talk to people that that I look up to,
yeah.
our friend down in Racine. And he
Oh,
said,
yeah,
look, he says, you got to try to stick with it. He
yeah.
said, and I thought, okay.
So here you go,
Uh,
John. So think about it. That's why I did what I did during this election period, is because I felt very strongly. I know we're right. I know that. I know that we have the right principles behind us. To me, a man in a dress is a man in a dress. It's not a
yeah,
woman. I'm sorry. No matter how pretty he looks or whatever, he's still a man and he doesn't belong in my bathroom or my locker room or anywhere else.
right,
I remember Title IX. I was in school at that time. So I remember
right.
that fight and that battle. And so it frustrates me so much to see that. So I know we're on the right side. And I also know that the conservative values, when you talk to people, even many liberal Democrats, they are very conservative. They really are. They don't know how to break away from that. Now, many of them did this time, which is a good thing. I think Trump has done that. He's broken some of those people away. And actually, Bobby Kennedy, I mean, I'm sure the Democrats are shaking their head going, we should have let the guy come into our group. That would have made a
Well,
big difference.
I don't dislike RFK,
I think
and
he's
this is
got
where
some.
this I could, we may have different opinions, and it does. This is one of those that doesn't matter. This is where, again, I don't. That's what needed to be done to win this election. So I understand this. He came up here. I didn't go to the thing. He came up here to
Oh, yeah, Barron
I,
County. That's right. Yeah.
Marion County. I had some people around here saying, "Hey, you're going to be at that function down in Rice Lake." I said, "What function?" I knew what they're talking about. They're like, "Oh, where RFK Jr. is going to be." I said, "I'm a Republican. Why would I go to that?" They're like, I said, well, he's a Democrat. I said, well, they're like, no, he's not. I said, is he really a Republican now? And then I had somebody else posted something on Facebook saying, oh, look at this. RFK was here. It was 50 something, 60 years or 60, whatever it was, 60 years ago when JFK was up there
Oh.
for the presidential election. And I told my wife, I said, this is what I'm talking about. I said, I understand things change. I said, but I'm old enough to remember, my dad was involved in politics. He was in Chicago. He was very involved, like what you were for Trump, for
Mhm.
Nixon.
Sure.
I said, so I come from memories of, no, we're for Nixon. He's a Republican and we're fighting JFK and the Democrats. And I said to the person, so this would be like 50 years from now, somebody saying, oh, look at Tony Evers was on,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, we hate Tony Evers. So there's a lot to unpack there in that things change. You probably shouldn't hate anybody. And that part of that's just coming back to what I said before, that I'm a minority of the Republican Party now. I'm not
I
Paul
don't
Ryan, but I'm not RFK, right? So I mean, it's
yeah.
kind of like
I don't know if you're really in the
I'm
m
concerned. I'm
I
cautiously
yeah,
concerned
okay.
about the Democrats that have come in, and not even so much them themselves, but the people that love them are now calling me a rhino. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
sure.
if you're not all in on Tulsi Gabbard and all these and RFK and all these other Democrats that have come in, well, then you're obviously a
Yeah.
rhino.
Yeah, and see, I don't get that. I mean, I'm not like all in all the way because I'm still very cautious. Okay, I'm very cautious because I have my Republican hat on many times where I
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
I'm not sure that sounded very good right there what he just said. But I do like that Trump said, you stay away from the liquid gold. He's not going to let him near the environmental stuff. And maybe this was Trump's way of saying, I got him, right here.
Well, to that
And
point, I will say that I do like what Trump did. I mean, as a strategy,
mhm,
as I think once you're legislating, you have to compromise and talk to the
mhm,
other side. So in some ways, bringing an RFK is kind of like talking to the other side. I love his stance on the vax. I love his stance on big pharma and the quality of food. I'm not keen on his pro-abortion and some other
mhm.
liberal policies that he stands behind. It depends on how much power he has.
Yeah,
And for him and his followers, it's a binary choice too. It's
yeah.
like, what was better for them, Trump or Harris?
Well, and the interesting thing about Harris, honestly, I think if she would have chosen someone else as her running mate, good God, what a goofball Walz is. I
Is
had
he
no
is he
idea.
is he a hoot? I mean,
Oh my
just
God. He was
well,
like,
see, I knew though, because we're a Minnesota media market, so we see
yeah.
him on the local news all the time.
I never
And I
heard anything
remember,
about the guy. And then all of a sudden, this
oh
guy
my
shows up. He
God,
looks like a
no,
Muppet. He looks like a Muppet. And he runs
he's
out
like
on the
Mr.
stage.
Magoo, and it's
Oh,
and I remember some people saying like that were not in a Minnesota media market saying, well, man, they picked him. He looks like a normal guy. He looks like a moderate Democrat. I'm like, this guy is like farther left than Bernie Sanders. He's crazy.
yeah.
He's just
Oh,
nuts.
I was
Yeah.
shocked. I was honestly, literally shocked by that choice when I really started looking into him and I was thinking, I don't know if it's true or not because people talk about kitty litter boxes in schools. I don't really believe all that stuff. Tampon machines in boys'
Yeah,
bathrooms.
some of that was, I mean,
I'm like, they called him
some of
Tampon
that was
Tim or
true
something.
and some of that wasn't, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah. It's just
Minnesota's a liberal state, and so it
yeah.
was a liberal bent to it, but it wasn't as crazy as they made Wallace out to be. But I'll tell you this, I just saw him. It's funny you say this. I saw him on, I don't know what he was doing on the news yesterday. I was watching the nightly news, local news. I always thought he was weird. He got weirder in that it's like he was like semi-normal when he was talking about whatever this issue was in Minnesota.
Right.
I don't know what made him compelled to like go out there like you're coked up out of your ass and you're just running around like a nutbag. But I mean,
It
it's
was
like
it was all their joy. It was joy. They were spreading joy.
he,
I think
Cheryl, I love that they said, I always say it. They said they thought this was a good thing. They were trying to say he had big dad energy, like he was the Midwestern dad.
I mean, I did not see it at all. I saw the guy as a kook. I was like, I cannot believe that people would fall for, and not that the vice president has a huge choice, in your choosing. Really, honestly, you've got to think about things like, well, if so and so dies or something happens, this person's going to be the leader of the free world. And I was like looking at it, going, "Holy buckets!" And I
Yeah.
mean,
I think
I'm
it
not.
ultimately hurt them in the long run. Yeah.
Oh, I think it hurt her bad, and she
Well,
really
you know what I think they were thinking? Strategically, I think they were thinking that they couldn't go with Josh Shapiro because he was Jewish. So that was going to hurt them in
bad.
Michigan with the Palestinians. So they couldn't go with Shapiro. So that he was probably the most sharpest guy they could have brought up. And then I think they thought, well, they justified Walz in. I mean, Tony Evers is as weird and liberal as Walz, but he's like a stuffed suit, right? I mean,
Mhm.
Walz at least talk.
Yeah.
So Walz is kind of the energetic, talk talking version of Evers. So I think they thought, well, Evers, two-time election in Wisconsin, they might like that type of thing. This is like a more energetic, they wish what Tony Evers would be. That can help him in Wisconsin. And then I thought that would maybe carry over into Michigan, being in a Midwest state, and it just didn't.
No, it didn't. The day before the election, it was Monday. I was in Stevens Point and I was like, what the heck's going on? One of the college Republicans sends me a text. Late for class. Tim Walz is here. He had a rally. And I was like, nobody had heard anything about it. He said kids were walking into the college in this center, whatever, layered building. That's where they had it at, was the same place we had the college Republican for Eric Hovde. He said, we're walking in there and nobody knows what's going on. And all of a sudden you see motorcades, sirens, everything. He was in the downstairs auditorium room, which was like their spinoff room or whatever, where they had too many people upstairs. He said he went upstairs to see, and he said there may be 40 kids, and all of them were like, what's going on? They just came to see what was going on. They didn't even really know what was going on. Yeah, seriously. Wow. I was shocked. Yeah, it was very interesting, but he was in and out very fast. I thought, well, that was kind of odd. The whole thing to me seemed very strange. I think they did it mainly thinking that he was going to connect with Midwesterners, and he is definitely not going to connect with a Midwesterner. J.B. Pritzker, he doesn't connect with Midwesterners neither. Illinois is just because of Chicago, and I think those Chicago people are getting sick and tired of all this
Illinois,
border.
you look at the popular vote in Illinois was tighter than it's ever been. So I think that shows you're never going to go Illinois red, but I think when you see that lead shrink, that tells you something. I think if you're a Democrat, you have to be concerned
nervous.
About that. I was just talking to somebody recently, talking about Walz and Harris losing. I think, what happened, I was talking about that. I think what happened was the whole legal proceedings against Trump and all that helped him.
Yeah,
it helped him in the primary a lot. The Dems were doing it. I think that was all, I don't know what you want to call that. I'll just call it election interference. They were doing that, in my opinion, to help Trump. They knew that would help in the primary, and they wanted to run against Trump. Because remember, in 22, there was Trump fatigue syndrome. We didn't do well in 22. So I thought they need to get Trump in, but then they pushed their dirty cards too hard. Now the same crap that helped him win the primary was helping him in the general. And then when they got rid of Biden too late and they brought in Harris, the only part of their plan, in my hypothesis, that worked was it helped Trump win the primary. Everything after that, their whole plan just caved in on them.
I think he had some good points on maybe putting an end to the Obama era too. I mean, Obama, they both of them, Michelle and Barack have.
I've listened to a few podcasts.
Me too.
I listen to Democrat podcasts every now and then from the New York Times. What's the guy's name? Ezra, yeah. Gives you a great, because I can listen to him. He's liberal. He's not like completely crazy, and it gives you good insight.
Yeah, Bill Maher.
It gives you good insight to what's going on. And he was saying he thinks it's the end of the Obama era.
I think it is too. I do. I think it is. I think that was really an eye-opening experience to see him preaching more, and he was angry, and just I thought, wow, this is not good. And then at their convention, honestly, the Republican National Convention was a really exciting thing. It really was, and it was very uplifting, motivating, energetic. It was enthusiasm. I enjoyed that very much. Great experience to be able to go. And that's why I did it, because number one, it's in our own state. And number two, being in the 3rd district, because this is the first time I did anything really.
Well, did you go as an alternate? You got elected as an alternate?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
See, I didn't want to go. Now, if DeSantis or anybody else would have, I would have wanted to. And I probably would have had a better chance if DeSantis, there was no way I was getting elected at 7th district to be. Because
I understand.
You know how 7th district is. I mean, so.
Yes, I do. Well, 3rd isn't too far off of that.
Well, no, you guys are close behind. You're probably not as whatever we are, but you're right behind us.
We are right behind you. And honestly, I was surprised that I got it, because it's the first time I've ever tried. I usually go up to the 7th because I know everybody and I'm comfortable there and I'm okay. And half of Wood is 7th and half of it's 3rd. So I thought, but this time I wanted to run for alternate, so I really had to be there.
You got in because
you got to go as my guest. We had a blast. We had a lot of fun.
I'm so happy that worked out.
Crap happens, and there's only so many spots open, and so I was very lucky. I was the 4th one chosen, so I got really close to delegate. Pete Church won, and he was my my switching buddy, so he was really great about me being on the floor. He was great. So Pete and I get along really well, and I like him a lot. So we had a good time. We had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was a good experience. I don't know. Think I'd ever do it again. I don't know. I'm getting too old now. It's kind of like
it's probably once. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but it's probably one of those you do it once in a lifetime.
That's why I did it. I thought, well, it's in my own state. I didn't have to pay for the traveling so much as the room and stuff, and then paying the delegate fee and stuff. It wasn't cheap, but it didn't kill me or or anything. It was like, okay, I planned for it and it was exciting. I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I kind of went through that whole process of, okay, I did that. And then I got to know some of the people a little bit better, even though I know a lot of people anyway. Kind of nice. And I also got to know some of them that I don't really, you learn a lot
Yeah.
more about people when you see them on that kind of a level. So that was good. I can tell you one thing
Yeah,
though.
no doubt.
Corey Tomczyk earned respect from me during that
Oh,
time
good.
period. Yeah, he did.
Good.
There's been my times where I haven't been super fond of some of the choices that Corey has made, but honestly, he did earn some respect from me during that time.
I would
So let's,
say I'll say this on the air. There's things that I've disagreed with Corey
me
vehemently.
too.
Things that he did a certain thing, you know what it is, that really upset me. With all that aside, though, I think he's in his heart he's a good man.
He is.
So we probably disagree on what's good strategy would be. We probably disagree on who are the best Republicans to run for actual. But at the end of the day, I think he's a good guy. So I
Me
don't
too.
dislike Corey. And I
No.
think that's how we should look at everything.
Yeah.
I know there's
Right.
people that think I'm Satan. I mean, which is really weird.
Well,
Oh, by
so
the
am
way, this
I.
is not
So
this podcast. This is not this podcast, but I've read now a couple books, and what's fascinating me now is the evangelical far right Church of Trump.
oh
And I guess the way I would sum it up now, a county party should not be a church, and a church should not be a county party.
no.
And you do see a lot of these, a lot of the
Interesting.
folks that are behind the "We don't vote for Eric Hovde," they consider themselves more Christian than others. It seems like that they've taken all their effort in religion, expressing it through politics, and that's probably not. I mean, I
Interesting.
disagree with that. I don't think
Yeah.
that's what because some of that I've experienced that where when people don't like what I say politically from that side.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing now, but obviously he's influenced by Satan. Obviously, John is godless. And
Oh,
I'm not, but I'm just saying political opinions that are either not, I'm not kissing Trump's butt, or,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just stuff that,
Yeah.
like, it's like, how do
But see,
you,
that's the part that
these same
exactly.
people want Robin Voss to burn at the stake.
I know
And
it
it's
blows my
like,
mind. Blows
so,
my mind.
so you're so religious that God wants you to hate Robin Voss and use all your Christian effort through politics. That's what he wants you to do.
It makes no
And I'm
sense.
like,
But this is the thing that I was talking about, is that they don't understand the policies and procedures and they just don't get it. When that comes into it, it blows my mind and you cannot, there's no breaking that wall. You can't. There's no breaking.
no, they're right,
Oh, I'm
exactly.
the
And
same as you. Yeah,
I think
I'm the same way as you.
constructively, I wish I knew. I always come back to, well, I don't want to. I'm intrigued and fascinated by it, and I just got to figure out if I'm overblowing the challenge or not.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
days
maybe
I'm like,
there's
I got to be overblowing it,
yeah.
and there's other days I'm like, no, this is a real challenge, and not enough people are seeing. I guess at
I,
some point it'll work itself out to understand if it is or isn't the challenge, and if it is, what are we going to do about it? Is it too
yeah.
late to do anything about it? Those types of things.
Let's see what happens over the next
Well,
2 years at least, because then
well, yeah.
because then we've got the governor, we've got all these things. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you think about mainstream media now. What do you think's going to happen? Because it's been very interesting. I am on X now. I am not on any, that I don't like social
Yeah.
media. I'm on LinkedIn. I've been on there forever, but I'm on X. And the reason that I'm on X, I wouldn't have been on X. RPW said, no, Cheryl, this isn't a recommendation. This is a requirement. So I had to do it or I wouldn't have done it. But now I'm kind of glad I did but I'm not a crazy person with it. I can shut it
Yeah.
off and never pay any attention. And
Well,
then
that exactly. I think exactly.
I think there's, I think you can look at it, but then I think you can also just go, oh, geez, I scroll, I read some stuff and I see some people and this is the thing that bothers me about social media is that people sit on there and they can say whatever they want behind their little phone under assumed names too, by the way. You notice
Yes,
my
and
name is
Twitter's a
Cheryl
big
LeBar.
one on
Yeah.
me, and I'm John Righeimer. Twitter is
Yeah.
notorious for the
And
assumed names, right?
I don't like that. I just never have liked that. It's just been one of those things that's been a gripe with me. If I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it. I'll take the beating for it if I have to. But I just think it's very interesting. But I just wondered what you think because now we're seeing that CNN, Comcast, and MSNBC, which MSNBC to me is not even a media. It's just not. It's propaganda totally. It's opinionated. Mika and Joe, and I can't believe they went down to Mar-a-Lago. It's like, it's so interesting to me. I think that's one of those things that kind of interests me. Then like when you're talking about Ezra from New York Times and all, I've noticed these things. And like the podcast that Trump did with Joe Rogan. I mean, within so much time, 100 million people had listened listened to that podcast. That's crazy. 100 million people. That had to have a significant impact on the election. Plus, I think with the kids, it has a very large impact. Joe Rogan is very well
Yeah,
known.
I think it's hard
I
to understand where it's going to go. I mean, I think the legacy media and Fox is the same way. I mean,
Yes.
maybe they're not as hard off as MSNBC, but I think their days are numbered as well. For so much more fragmented. You can choose the news you want to
Yep.
tell you what you want to hear to make you feel good, and that's what I'm trying to ward myself. And that's something new for me. I mean, that's been the last few years where I'm trying to understand what's the source and what am I really getting, and is it entertainment? Is it news? One podcast that I've really started to like is the Wall Street Journal podcast, and they do a great job of just like it's entertaining, and they have different stories. They're like, oh, on the pro side, this is what it means. On the downside, it's like they're
Mm-hmm.
not really given. I'm like, well, that's pretty good. But I don't know. To answer your question, I think the clock started ticking on like those MSNBCs and cable news, probably maybe even 10 years ago, right? I
I
think it
think
just
so too.
I think
Yeah.
the advent of social media, and then social media, has its two. One thing that I have, I got to go here soon, but I'll end it like this:
Me too.
that
Yeah.
being involved locally, and if you do so at a governmental level,
Mm-hmm.
really brings clarity to a lot of things. And what I'm getting at is I know since I've been on a county board, rarely do I see anything as black and white anymore. I used to be kind of a black and white guy, but now I see where it's not black and white, that there are parameters you got to work in. There are compromises that you have to make. And I've also seen where some of the crazy comes in at public comment when I'm just speaking about so-called conservatives. They bring the Fox News craziness to public comment.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, what I'm getting to is I told my wife, I said, the more I'm involved in this kind of stuff, and then when I see crazy stuff come up and you see the headline news on social media, if you really dig into that story, more often than not, you find out that there's two sides of this story. More often than
Absolutely.
not, you find there's some fallacy to it. More often than not, you find, well, this maybe, if you're not cherry picking the words and the headlines and all that,
Mhm.
probably shouldn't be so concerned about it. So,
Yeah.
I feel at peace in that I used to look at this as the most crucial election of our time. And you know what? Even if Brad Schimmel doesn't win, we'll move on. We'll
Yeah.
keep living. We'll figure out a way to fight again the next time. Doesn't mean you don't try.
Yeah.
You don't have to get so worked
Well,
up about it. Look at it for what it is. It's not. And maybe I'll say this too. Going back to my earlier comment, this is not a fight against good and evil anymore. I mean, not that it ever was. I think the Democrats have their crazies, we have our crazies, and somewhere in the
absolutely.
middle, both sides do it. The other side's the devil. That's just not true.
Right.
And I think we
Yeah,
have
they're not
to.
Hitler. They're not Hitler. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's craziness. I saw it plainly. I've seen it for a long time, but I've been doing this since Ronald Reagan. Okay, that's when I got into it because I was in the Navy, and that's the first presidential election and really election that I got very active. And that was back in the day when we had dial phones. 102 people sitting in a room with dial phones calling people up. I really was very active then, and ever since then, when you go back to that, look at how many people won: Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat. I've been through a lot of wins and loses. That's why I say when you put your name on a ballot, there's a winner and there's a loser, and you have to be able to accept that. I already had accepted the fact we could lose. And if we lose, okay, what do? Well, we circle our family, we worry about what's going on in our
Yeah.
lives, and we do the best we can. And that's what I wish that people would do instead of just freaking totally out. And I think the media is the one that has fed that to people.
Oh, no
Because
doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah.
back in the day, you didn't have that. And, your neighbors can put up a sign of whatever. I don't care. You're still my neighbor. I mean, if your house catches on fire, I'm going to help you, or whatever. Your dog gets lost, I'm going to help you. So that's the thing that I think I go back to, is that I reach out to these people, and I've always been able to just talk to them. And that was what On the Doors helped a whole lot too, is, I just want to understand why you choose that. I just want to understand it, because if you're a one issue voter on one thing, it kind of bothers me a little, because you need to really be informed and think about it all. And some people just don't get informed. They're just not. They're busy in their lives. They're taking their kids to school. They're trying to, pay their bills. They don't understand all the concepts. It's one of those things where, in a way, I wish, John, that I was back in that time where I voted and I went to sleep and I woke up the next day and found out who won. But I'm not like that anymore. That's way beyond. I have to know.
Well, we get involved. So it does turn into a sporting event to a certain
Yeah,
degree.
it
I know
is.
with
Yeah.
the fans primary, it takes on a life of its own because you're putting a lot of heart and soul into it. So that's natural.
I was
But
glad he won. I was very glad that I was very upset about that one.
no,
But
does fantastic job. I got a text from Tant Chans as we were talking here, so I'm not
did
sure
you?
what that was about. But
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Well, but before we leave, hopefully you can come to the Sawyer County
I'm
Lincoln
planning on it.
if,
It's on my
if you're around.
calendar. Yep,
And
it's on my
hopefully
calendar.
Shirley is not in Florida. Hopefully Shirley Armstrong's not in Florida.
She's
Like she
gonna be
probably
in
will be.
Florida. She's not gonna be around. She's just
Yeah, I
off
know
to
she's
toot
never
toot.
around for those.
No, she's
She's
never
never
around
around
for
for those.
anything
We
anymore.
got we got a good one. We got a good one. See who's so Chan's is coming.
Oh, good. I love cans.
Will Martin's coming.
Awesome.
Meg Ellison's coming.
Oh, good. I love Meg.
Tony, Eric
Wheel?
Tony,
Oh, yeah,
Eric
Eric.
Tony.
Oh, good.
Eric
All right, good.
Tony's coming because I don't know if Brad Schimmel can come. So I asked Eric to come. I said, hey, can you come and one, because we like you, and two,
Yeah.
I'd love to have you just kind of impress the importance of the Supreme Court
Mhm.
race, being an
Good.
attorney general or not being a district attorney,
Yeah.
how you can do that. And Annette Olson from McIver Institute's coming.
Oh, yeah. I love Annette.
And then Tom Tiffany, we never know if he usually comes. We never know if he's coming to like the week out anyway,
Right.
So
Yeah.
he'll
Yeah.
probably be there. And
Yeah.
Romaine, should be there as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So
Good. Well, it sounds like you got a good lineup. I certainly love going because then I get a chance to bug them all, and I'll
yes,
podcast live right from there. I love
absolutely.
doing it.
You got
It's always fun.
the same slot, same spot.
Always fun. I love it and I enjoy it very much and I have a good time doing it. So I appreciate it. Well, John, thank you so much for all your time and energy and
Well,
for just chatting about it. Because honestly, when I get off of here with you, whenever we talk, I always feel better. I do. I
Well,
just
I
feel
feel
better.
the same way. I always feel smarter after I talk to you. And thanks for having me on. I know I go in a lot of different directions. It's like a stream of consciousness. Sometimes that's good. But thank you for all you do. And thank you for all the work you put towards the presidential race. It was people like you that I think pushed the needle
It was fun.
in that
It was fun.
victory.
It was a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And I did get to know some of the people much better. And I really and truly appreciate everything that they do. Honestly, we got a lot of hardworking people, really and truly. RPW, they do a lot. We might give them some crap every now and then, and I might come on to them too once in a while. They do work hard. And Leslie put her heart and soul
Oh,
into it.
Leslie is one of my favorite.
She
And
worked hard.
sometimes people will say to me, well, RPW is doing a great job. I'll say, you mean Leslie?
Yeah, Leslie, right. And Brian's doing well too. I mean, he was everywhere. He
Yeah,
worked his butt off this
yeah.
time. I'll tell you, I haven't heard from him lately. I sent him a text. I think it was after the night of the election, the next day. And I said, I hope you get some rest now. And I never even heard anything from him. So I sent him another text and I said, I hope you're alive. Because that poor guy, even at the convention, he was running his tail off. And,
Yeah,
they're trying.
no.
We had a lot of light on us. I mean, they did a lot of rallies. I mean, we had like 20 something rallies in our state. That's crazy. RPW's in charge of getting all that set up and all. I want to give them a shout out. They did a good job. I also want to say that I think Speaker Vos is doing a fantastic job, and you and I both agree on that. And I'm very supportive of him. I don't care if I take grief for it or not, and I do, but I don't care because I understand the procedures and policies and why we do the things we do. And he keeps getting elected as Speaker for a reason. His own people vote for him.
I mean,
And so
RAC is an impressive effort. Political parties are not like they used to be back in the 60s, and before.
No.
So maybe it's impossible for us to. If there's a way to look more like RAC as a Republican Party effort in Wisconsin, we ought to figure it out.
Well, I just hope that we can find an app that all of us can use at the same time. They were using ICE 360. Senator Cheston came to one of my
360
Super Saturday.
Sidekick.
It was such a mess. And so bless his heart. And he took a couple people with him. So I appreciate everything that they did. But they were very good on helping me out on Super Saturdays and all too. So I appreciate
you mentioning Cheston, and I could go on and on with people, Eric Tony, Will Martin, Jim Mill. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So as much as I bitch and moan about like the Island of Misfits, that being the Republican effort in Wisconsin, like anything else, there are some of the people I love most dearly, and some of the people
Me
that are
too.
just top notch. And so those are the folks that are. I guess I want to end on that note.
Yeah, that's the ones that keep us going, John. That's the reason we're doing what we do, and that's it right there.
That is correct.
So I appreciate it, my friend, very much. So you have a good one, and happy Thanksgiving to you and Christine, and
Thanksgiving to you too.
And how's that handsome son of yours doing? Is he doing?
No,
good?
He's doing wonderful. He'll be graduating in May.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So I hope we get to see him too, because gosh, man, he is just a handsome guy.
Thank you. I hopefully, if he's not busy with what he's doing up in Duluth, I hope to get him. There for the for the Lincoln.
Good. I'd love to talk to him again. My chat with Jack has done really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Take care. Talk to you soon.
All right, Cheryl. Take care. Bye bye.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thank you for listening to the Cheryl and Shirley Show, and I appreciate my friend John. It was great. Please look us up on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and you can check me out anywhere you want. Thank you. Have a good day.